today. We're very excited. So, when we have guests come in and they talk about what they're doing, and then they go and they use those tools that we talked about, they come back and we call it a refill and they tell us how they've grown, what they've done. Well, this is the third time that John Bledsoe from Co-Angler is going to come talk to us. So I can't wait to hear you for the third time. You are growing and growing and growing. Come on up.
Let's see if we get any feedback here. Good morning. Throw this in my pocket. Yeah. All right, good to be here. This is my second refill. Appreciate Sterling inviting me out. But I'm going to share a little bit about the company that I started called Co-Angler. Let's go to the first screen. So that's the biggest fish I've ever caught in my life. That's a 25-pound flathead catfish. I caught it on the Pomme de Terre River, about 30 minutes north of Springfield, on a limb line, which is where you take some fishing line hanging on a tree limb over the water. And so since I started a fishing company, it's only appropriate to start with a fishing story. But I grew up right here in the Ozarks, grew up in Pleasant Hope. Uh, love the outdoors, and I love technology. I actually spent 13 years doing research and development in the semiconductor industry. And that's what allowed me to kind of be able to afford a boat that allowed me to discover this problem on the next slide that I'm going to talk about. And what happened was, it was a beautiful October afternoon. I was fishing by myself on Pomme de Terre Lake, and I happened to look back at my empty seat on my boat, and I got to thinking, man, why didn't I bring somebody with me? And then the wheels started turning. I was like, well, why isn't there something out there that does that? An app or software to connect people to go fish together. Let them learn from each other, find a fishing buddy, split some costs. And that's where Co-Angler was born. I went home that night and I bought coangler.com for $13 and had to figure out how to build an app after that. So one of the first things I did was reach out to my local entrepreneurial center, the E-Factory, which has an enormous amount of free resources for entrepreneurs looking to start companies. And let's go to the next slide. I kind of skipped over there a little bit, but this is what Co-Angler essentially is. It's an app designed to connect people to go fish together. You can offer trips, request trips, create trip reports, connect with people in your community. We've got notification features to let people know when there's new trips in your area, and basically an all-in-one tool for people that want to plan fishing trips together. And this is where I was starting earlier. So the E-Factory, in partnership with Codify, ended up offering a Code Labs program, which was the 10-month-long software development training boot camp that I was hesitant to join, but ended up pulling the trigger and applied and got a scholarship to get into this program, and spent the next 10 months beating my head against the wall trying to learn coding languages. But I stuck with it. I took advantage of office hours, had a great teacher, and by the end of that program, I ended up getting a $75,000 non-dilutive product development grant to help me build my MVP, my minimum viable product that we launched in November of 23. Shortly after that, I was admitted into a business incubator through the University of Arkansas called GORP, the Greenhouse Outdoor Recreation Program. That gave me another team of mentors. I had to attend weekly workshops in Bentonville for 3 months. I got another $15,000 grant. Within about 6 months' time, I had got $90,000 in non-dilutive equity to help me launch this idea. I took advantage of University of Missouri's entrepreneurial legal clinic and got to work with third-year law students, all for free. That drafted employment contracts, terms of use, privacy policies. They did my trademark. And all of this really started right here at the E-Factory. I wouldn't have known if any of these resources were available to me, because they have mentorship programs, they got networking events, they have um, free consultants that you can book at any time. So it really opened me up to a whole host of opportunities and resources that I didn't know were there. And so a lot of times when somebody comes and asks me like how to start a business or where I start, like, go to this place. There's a bunch of people that are working off your tax dollars already, that are getting paid to help you. So I've also made it in some pitch competition finalists through AltCap out of Kansas City, which was fun. And then I'm currently partnered with the Missouri Conservation Heritage Foundation, which is a mission-aligned sister nonprofit to our conservation department in Missouri, focused on protecting our water and our wildlife. And so, being that I'm a fishing company, conservation is paramount for me. So I want to make sure that I'm paying it forward and, building those initiatives into my company from the start. So one of the biggest things that happened since this last refill that I did last year, I actually found out about an opportunity through that program I was in, Ozark, which was a social impact award pitch competition through the Richard King Mellon Foundation out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And what they're looking to do is invest in companies that are making a positive societal impact in areas like economic development, economic mobility, mental health and well-being, and conservation. So I have some conservation initiatives built into my company and also mental health and well-being initiatives because I'm trying to connect people using technology to fight problems like loneliness, accessibility to the outdoors, and through a several step process, I ended up learning that I got third place and was able to travel out to Pittsburgh to accept that award. And it was a $315,000 investment in my company. And the funny thing about this all, the Lord's timing, I was right at the end of my runway. I was destitute, depressed. I was getting ready to go back and start a full-time job. 5 days before I was supposed to start a job as an environmental consultant, I learned I won this award. And I was able to call my future employer and say, actually, I'm not taking that job. And so it's really funny how the timing worked out. But since then, I've been able to hire a full-time developer. You're good. And hire myself full time and now have a marketing budget. And one of the big things on my radar right now, since I got that investment, I'm supposed to use that to actually make money. It's good if your business makes money. It helps you continue to do business. And so I'm really trying to develop first and foremost subscription models. So we do have subscription models built in. I'm trying to make it affordable, $5 a month, $45 a year, or a one-time $135 lifetime membership. Um, Also ad revenue, partnering with different brands or companies or fishing clubs that maybe want to advertise or put their products on my platform in order to help, move whatever they're trying to sell. And in the future, platform fees too, commission-based models for fishing trips, those costs associated with the trip that I'd be able to take. And then maybe eventually gear and apparel. I have co-angler hats and shirts and hoodies, and maybe we'll develop a fishing rod or a piece of tackle one of these days. But um, a lot of people ask me, what does the competitive landscape look like for co-angler? Well, really, there's nothing out there right now that does this. There's a few Facebook groups where people are trying to do this sort of thing, and they kind of haphazardly try and connect on social media posts through Facebook fishing groups. But really, Boat Setter, that's a ride sharing company for boats. A lot of their market is focused around yachts in Florida. FishBrain is basically just a fish location app. Drop a pin where you caught a fish. And then these other two are basically professional charter booking services. But Co-Angler kind of sets itself in between all of those products, but also plans to, get into the guide service industry as well. Let's move forward to the next slide. So where are we at right now? We're still a small company. I haven't had large amounts of venture capital investment, and I've really bootstrapped this company from the get-go, but we're sitting at, that number is actually 2189 now since I did that yesterday. We've had 609 trips posted on the app. 55 of those confirmed, which means 110 people have connected to go fishing through the app, or 120 plus actually, if you take into account some of those trips had multiple parties. But um, we launched our native mobile app in April of last year, and we hired our first full-time employee in September. I have a full-time software developer that works for me. So this is the brainchild that's a lot more future focused, but it starts with fishing. I believe that as dependent as we are on technology uh, to connect for real world social interactions, we're going to continue to become more and more reliant on that. And so it starts with co-angler, but then co-hunter, co-hiker, co-yacker for water sports. And so I recently acquired Companion Outdoors that will be essentially the parent company for this umbrella of basically a full service outdoor recreation platform for connecting people for shared experiences. Because if you look historically, how Things like dating websites have taken place and become more and more reliant. 8 to 9 relationships start online now. Um, Companies like Airbnb and Uber, where they disrupted the taxi and the hotel industry. I believe that all these outdoor recreational services are going to eventually become you know reliant on technology, and that's what I'm hoping to support. Um, Probably the most exciting thing for me right now that's happening in real time is I recently partnered with Bill Dance, which is Mr. Fishing. He's famous for his Tennessee hat and his fishing bloopers. He's had a television show nationwide since 1968, and I've been fortunate enough to partner with him. He is going to be promoting me for the next 4 months with an option to extend my contract for a full year. He's already done one social media post, filming in his studio, and I'm going to get to go down there next month and film with him in Tennessee, and do a series called 3 Questions with Bill Dance, where we're going to talk to each other about how I got this started and share some funny fishing stories. And that took about 2 years to develop that relationship. So it wasn't just overnight. And that's one thing that I've learned in this endeavor is, all of my success and all my progress can be tied back to people and relationships. And so if there's any advice I can give any business owners or entrepreneurs, take care of your people and focus on people, because at the end of the day, Co-Angler isn't even a fishing company. I could care less about people catching fish. It's all about connecting people together. So, but with that, I want to say thank you.
Great presentation as always.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody new to One Man Cups? I see you, but welcome. This is the Q&A portion here. If you have a question, we have a lot of people in the room. Please raise your hand. I'll bring you the mic. When you stand up, please state your name and where you're from, and then ask your question. Let's hold them because of the number of people. One question per, and then if there's time, we can go back around. I'm going to ask the first one. Get some feedback here. I think we met you in 2022, if I remember right. Something like that.
Maybe 4.
Uh,
3 or 4.
Tell you
Oh, wow.
Longer hair.
Yeah, longer hair.
Brand new idea, just evolved into what you have right now. I mean, you talked a little bit beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
You touched on it a little bit, but touch a little bit on the revenue stream that you have right now, and then the subscription base and why you haven't gotten that part out yet and what your holdback is there.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's one thing I was telling them earlier. Businesses have to make money. This is, to date, I've had $405,000 in non-dilutive equity invested in this company. So some could say I've made a lot of money, but that money has been invested in my company so that I can begin to make money on my own. So my gut tells me that a subscription model is the most appropriate place to start, but I want to make it affordable. But it has been challenging. So Co-Angler is essentially still pre-revenue as a company. Like we have some, revenue on the balance sheet, but it is, I'm still in those early stages. And there's a couple of different schools of thought when it comes to marketplace apps like mine and subscription-based platforms. And one school of thought says, start charging as soon as you can. The sooner you can, start taking people's money, the better. And then there's another school of thought, and both are valid arguments, that says wait as long as you possibly can, get your marketplace thriving, working, everything's kind of up and going, and then start turning on subscription models. Once people have to have this, they can't lose, access to what they've got. And so I'm in a position right now where I've got basically a campaign built out with Bill Dance, where I've structured it over basically 3 different tiers, where that third tier is converting to paid subscriptions. I have 3 paid subscribers right now, which to me is surprising because my app is 100% free to use, so I don't even know why people are paying for it. My most recent subscriber, he's already been on 5 or 6 Co-Angler trips, and so I think he's just an ambassador and an evangelist to the brand and wants to help support. But yeah, it's $1 million question. How do you make money off of it? I can't tell you how many times people say, "Oh, I bet Bass Pro would love that." But it's not just as easy to knock on the door at Bass Pro and say, "Give me some money." But in a perfect world, I'd like to see an advertising model take shape first. I'd like to keep the platform free for users, or potentially offer a premium subscription. But I'm hoping that maybe some of the Bill Dance developments and introductions to his partners and sponsors could help develop potential sponsorship opportunities, help me keep the lights on at least. So, but yeah,
Madonna Greiner, 20
Yep.
Reasons to Say Thank You, and Barnes Backroads and Byways Photography. You are the quintessential example of a great presentation and a great business model that how you've
Mhm.
gone through all the steps. Congratulations on
Thank you.
that. Let's give him a hand. And what you just said is a segue into my question slash comment.
Mhm.
You said you have a subscriber that's been on several trips.
Mhm.
Have you done any testimonials? Have
Mhm.
you done anything like that so you could promote it, say, just before going into Father's Day? I can see this
Right.
as a great gift for fathers or at Christmas time
Mhm.
for guys. I mean, I think I'm going to subscribe to it for my husband,
Mhm.
and I want to get a hat. So you need to let us know where to get those.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, you could package it with a subscription and a hat for Father's Day.
Right.
And for the first 50, 100 subscribers, whatever, get a free hat and build your base that way. Because I think
Mhm.
it looks, you have a great product, you have a great model, but you're having trouble getting the word out there about it. So
Mhm.
maybe that could help you. And I don't know if Facebook is the place to do it. I'm not the
Mhm.
person to ask, but that is what I would suggest and ask you if you'd consider doing that.
Right. No, that's spot on. One thing that I've seen with my social media content is anytime I have a chance. So I use this app. You know, I go fishing with people. I meet people through the app and take them fishing. One of the things that I do is I capture content on those trips. I get them smiling, holding fish, us hold arms around each other, having a good time. And I usually do an interview too, where I get that testimonial content. Hey, what do you like about the Co-Angler app? How's it helped you as a fisherman? So definitely that social proof that you get is paramount, and those videos seem to do a little bit better than all the other just random stuff I post. But yeah, with regards to subscriptions, like I've had that idea of packaging a hat and selling that too, especially with Father's Day. But you know, this is one of the biggest issues that tech founders encounters. They have a great idea for an app, and that's literally 50% of the process. And it hit me like a ton of bricks once the web app went live in November 23. It's like, oh, what's next? I didn't have some big, massive marketing plan. I didn't even have a marketing budget. I was bootstrapping. So it's, the hardest part is getting the word out. Like, it was really hard to build the app. Don't get me wrong. That part was hard too. But getting the word out. One thing that I've seen, influencer marketing. That's why I'm taking a big bet on Bill Dance. He's got 2.6 million followers across all of his social media. He's one of the most trusted authoritative figures in the outdoor community for fishing. And so that's kind of what I've isolated. One thing I learned, I kind of threw everything in the kitchen sink earlier this year. I was doing radio ads, I was doing streaming ads, I was doing social media ads, I was going to events, and like none of those were turning the needle. And it also was really hard to track, which one was working. And so I've really kind of backed up, scaled everything into just, okay, let's look at this one funnel right now and try and do as good as we can and convert and understand how our metrics are working and converting. So,
Maybe follow the Bill Dance with some of that.
mhm.
Back on that exposure.
Right. Yeah, and that's the plan. Piggyback off Bill Dance.
Hi, my name is Keith. I'm with Commercial Real Estate Investment Discussions, and a second ago you were talking about on the trips that you've gone with your clients and call them,
Mhm.
you've done pictures and stuff. I think that is paramount on if you create your app so that since they're already on an app,
Mhm.
and how many people take fish pictures,
Right.
right? So if you tie your app in with your social media stuff, so you get them to post their pictures, and then you take those pictures and turn it around into content that Co-Angler can distribute. Now
Right.
you generate a revenue stream off of content that other people are feeding you.
Mhm.
And also on the subscription model, I would say absolutely no subscription for
Mhm.
base model because you're a business of numbers. You want more people to know about it.
Mhm.
So if you charge subscriptions, that's going to limit people, and they're going to say, no, I don't want to do it. So you have it completely free, get everybody on board, and then get them involved in taking pictures, and then you do affiliate
sales stuff into it,
Right.
or you take pictures of the lures that you
Mhm.
have caught fish on, and you tie people into it, and then now you get into the advertising model of well, Rapala is going to be like, hey, we've seen activity on your stuff, we want to sponsor you there. So
Yeah.
I would completely push the free model, and then
Mhm.
if people want to upgrade and buy
Mhm.
certain things, then
Right.
you allow that, but you create a system of sharing people's fish pictures, because I've got thousands of fish pictures on my phone, right?
Mhm.
And that's one of the things that I have actually just recently shown other people on is um, mapping where you take their pictures of the fish,
Right.
so that you know where to go back and fish. And so
Mhm.
like now you get access to that data.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's another thing you can add in.
Right. No, I agree with you that the partner affiliate advertising model, that in a perfect world, that's what I would want. Like keep the platform free, maybe a premium feature or premium subscription, get rid of ads. But the point is to make fishing more affordable, more accessible, more fun. And so the affordable component, definitely making it free. But yeah, we've got a new feature, a big feature plan called Co-Angler Clubs, which is almost similar to like a Facebook fishing group, but kind of streamline the communication and event planning for various fishing clubs, organizations, resorts. Um, and there's an opportunity for brands to create their own club pages too, where there's affiliate discounts and the opportunity for brands to support people or sponsor these trips because rather than advertising to a passive audience on, say, Facebook or TikTok, I actually have people actively planning fishing trips. And so those people need products, they need equipment, they need regional specific, technique specific equipment for those trips. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities with those partner brands to develop that model. And I'm hoping that with some of my introductions to building as sponsors, I can hopefully get some of that developed. But great.
Matthew Stubblefield with Fieldway Consulting. You said you built the first thing in like 2023 and
Mhm.
just hired a developer in 2025.
Hmm.
So can you walk us through a little bit how you learned? It sounds like you took advantage of a lot of different resources. So how you learned to build that in 23, and then the process of finding your developer in 25 for like
Yeah.
other people who might be like, got an idea, but they're not quite sure how to get started.
Yeah. So it started with the boot camp, the Code Labs program, which was 2 nights a week at the E Factory, Mondays and Thursdays from 5:30 to 8:30. And about a month into that program, I learned that my teacher uh, had office hours on the weekend from 5 p.m. till 9 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday. And so here's a professional software developer offering one-on-one help. I took full advantage of that. I was there every weekend for the next 9 months. Um, I'm a huge Kansas City Chiefs fan. I skipped the Super Bowl so I could go in there and code this app. Like that shows my commitment right there. So, but so that's where the prototype. About 3/4 of the way through that program's when my teacher one day I went into office hours. He's like, "You should reach out to my boss." He was the co-founder of Codify because they support a lot of tech entrepreneurs in rural areas, and he's like, "Just let them know what you're doing." And I gave a presentation afterwards, after the presentation, he was asking me all these questions, which I later learned were like kind of investor related questions. And what ended up happening is they ended up supporting my project with that $75,000 product development grant. So then my teacher became my lead developer, and we kicked that off in June of 23, launched the mobile app or the web app in November of 23. And then, so I spent a lot of 24 bootstrapping. I actually started working with the next cohort in Code Labs. And so now I've got young junior software developers in training that are eager and hungry. So I found a couple of interns. I actually was able to partner with Codify and do a capstone project. So for the last month of that Code Labs program, I had about 6 to 8 interns that worked on CoAngler and built me an administrator dashboard to help me manage users and keep track of my analytics and metrics. That was all free. Um, After they all graduated, I picked a handful of those really good, promising software developers and started paying them intern salary, $20 an hour, start building features, and then started getting scared about money, and then had to put them. I tried to offer them equity to work on it. They wouldn't take it. One developer ended up saying he's just going to help me out and he's going to help champion getting the mobile app developed. And so he basically took what we had existing on the web with our database and built a brand new front end mobile platform for iOS and Android. I ended up paying him all in all maybe about $7,000 or $8,000 through that whole process, which is incredible when you think about how much it costs to build an app these days. That was one of the reasons when I first started, I got quotes from app development companies, big, small, foreign, domestic. I got quotes all the way up to $500,000 to build this idea. And so the sticker shock was real. And so being able to say that I got the mobile app built for less than 10 grand, it's like, but it took a lot of relationship building, a lot of trust, and, showing they knew I was serious and passionate about what I wanted to do, and so they were eager to help me, and it was a win-win all around because that developer that helped me, he's my full-time employee now, so he's been here for 2.5 years, through this whole story. So, you know,
I'm Keisha Messina with Shelter Insurance. So my youngest son is 13 and he's on the fishing team at his school in
Mhm.
Rogersville.
okay,
And one of the things that I see all the time are they're always looking for new coaches
Right.
or other people. Have you thought about going to some of these school teams
Mhm.
and presenting this app as a way to connect with other local people to get them interested in those programs?
Right. Yeah, if you're gonna pick a sport in high school or middle school, fishing is hands down the most expensive sport you can choose.
I would challenge that with trap, but go ahead.
But well, yeah, some of those guns get really expensive. But I don't know, boats are expensive too. But yeah, that gets brought up quite a bit. Helping high schoolers find boat captains for tournaments. My app's 18 and up. Due that I'm connecting people on the internet for real world experiences, I'm trying to reduce my liability, and we've got different states around the country that are making new social media laws, and so I have to be cognizant of the legality aspect of that. But a parent that could administer the the controls on the app and use it on behalf of their child to help find boats for tournaments is completely acceptable. But yeah, that is one of the biggest challenges high schoolers that want to fish face is they don't have a boat. And they don't, maybe their parents don't have the time to take them to practice or take them to these tournaments that are oftentimes all over the place. But yeah, I think, this could be a tool. I've talked to various high school fishing teams, and I think there's a model there that could help out. But I haven't really figured that part out yet. But I'd be interested to see how Co-Angler could help support those high school students. I'd be happy to give you my contact info too for a follow up.
I know a guy you should talk to.
Great, thank you.
John Lopez, Unchained AI Solutions.
Mhm.
Okay, three quick things because we've got about 30 seconds. But one, I think it's built on trust a lot. So I think when they have these meetings, they can rate each other.
Right.
So if there's a mom that has a kid, they know I can be with this guy who's been on 11 trips and they have a 10 rating with all these people.
Right.
Right. Because you're meeting strangers.
Mm-hmm.
Two is if it's a tough app sell, especially because it's new, because your biggest pain point is no one's searching for it.
Right.
So you can't do AdWords, you can't do these things because you're wasting your money with all of that. So one quick solution would be become a 501c3. That opens you up to a lot more grants. You can still take your salary, give your salary. You also open yourself up to a lot more people who will give donations. If you were to take a group of children that are part of this nonprofit, so that could be a good way to get donations over revenue because that's a tough sell. If you were to do it, I would do what Keith said: keep the app completely free, but sell all of the add-ons.
Yeah.
And I would target these big cities where they've never been fishing, so the person who is on the boat rents the boat, the fishing equipment, all of this stuff for X amount, you get 15% of all of that, as well as fishing lessons and things like that, where you're teaming with these anglers who give the lesson and you get revenue from that.
Yeah. Well, great suggestions. Yeah, very good.
All right, so we come to the end here. Sorry, go ahead.
Also, app building's changing. I just built your Code Hunter app. I'll give it to you after this because you mentioned about it earlier. For free, and it's better than the $500,000.
Okay.
One day comes it all about right there. All right, guys, so we're coming to the end here that we're up against the clock. A couple of things. One is, if you've been in here a long time and you are an entrepreneur, and I've described a person that used every single free thing that you can think of, it's that guy. That's the guy leading for the example. Great presentation. Me and you talked earlier. Great content too, guys, by the way. What can we do for you today is a normal question. But me and you talked today that you're trying to go to the next level. So
Mhm.
what can 1 million cups help you do to get to the next level?
Yeah. Well, kind of the two biggest, things on my plate I brought up earlier with, product development is really the first biggest challenge I had with this, and also marketing and figuring out how to monetize. So if anybody has any expertise on app development, would be willing to help test features or new product, unrollings that we're going to be developing. That's always helpful, especially with people with a fresh set of eyes. I always find myself learning from people that get to take a stab at this first and say, well, this doesn't make sense. Like the user experience and the user journey is paramount. We're always continuing to try and fine tune that. So any chance I have somebody with a fresh set of eyes that would be willing to help test the product, we have a staging environment, so it's private. You don't actually have to go fishing with somebody. That's always a big help. And then, sales and marketing, if there's anybody that, is savvy and figuring out how to make money, that's something, I'm usually a pretty humble, frugal guy myself, and so it's just hard for me to ask people. I feel bad about asking people for money. I just want everything to be free. Like, why can't we all just have free stuff? But yeah, I'd be happy to talk with anybody. I've got business cards. You can share my contact. But really appreciate everybody. Just great questions, really good questions today, and gave me some great ideas, all of you. So thank you very much.